makakala nila parang opening lang si Chavez. Ano ba? Really, very bluntly, we never discussed Manny Pacquiao. We never talked about it.
Sotto also clarified that the 2022 elections is going to be a three-way battle between the administration, the opposition, and their group. Although the lawmaker admitted that the Nationalist People's Coalition is currently in an alliance with the president.
Kung sakaling matuloy kami yung neutral. Kami yung alternative. We're not opposition, but we're not administration. Unless all of a sudden the administration decides that we're it, then you become the administration.
The level of danger of the Delta variant of COVID-19 supposedly depends on the vaccination levels of any country. This means that countries with slow vaccination programs must be more vigilant against this highly contagious COVID variant. Johns Hopkins senior scholar Amish Adalja explains this on Bloomberg.
It's very important to be aggressive with the Delta variant, but it's not something that has the capacity to put our hospitals in crisis. It's going to be a very different flavor than prior increases in cases, but it's inevitable that we'll see upticks in places where there are not enough vaccinated people.
Dr. Adalja, is the sense that the Delta variant is more virulent, that it has longer lasting implications for people who are not vaccinated? What is the distinction of the Delta?
The distinction is that it's more contagious. It seems to be more contagious than any of the other variants that we've seen, and obviously more contagious than the original version of the virus. There is some mixed data on whether or not it's more or less deadly than the other versions of this virus, but that sometimes is something that doesn't pan out when you actually look at the data. But this is something that can take off in an unvaccinated population, and that's why where we have pockets of unvaccinated individuals, it's really important for them to get vaccinated, because the more we're vaccinated in this country, the less we have to worry about the Delta variant or really any other variant.
This has been the message from health officials, business officials, and community leaders across the board. There is a question, though, of how we are recording who has gotten vaccinated and the ongoing honor system that the United States is following. Do you think the honor system is the way to go, or should there be a more formal process of tracking those who've been vaccinated and those who have not been?
Well, it's important to remember that when you get vaccinated, your state, there's an immunization registry, so that's all recorded. That's where the CDC gets its numbers. So those numbers are correct, but there's nothing on your person that you have that really tells people that you're vaccinated. You have these flimsy cards that are really not anything that can be considered an official document. I do think that this was an opportunity early on that the government should have thought about. Is there a way just to have an app on people's phone that tells them their vaccination status so people can trust it? New York State did something called the Excelsior Pass, but it really didn't take off. So I think that this is something we really should see private industry innovating to put your vaccination records in an app. Not just COVID-19, but all of them, I think would be really good.
Yeah, Amish, I think a huge body of our viewers and listeners agree, Amish, with what you just said. And to me, the 2-minute drill is who's going to drive this forward. Are you telling me American Airlines is going to set public policy for America?
I do think it's probably going to come from the private sector, because the Biden administration has said that they don't want to do anything like this. You might see some states do it. The International Association of Travel Agents has been working on some apps. So I do think you're going to see one of those companies come out with an app where they can verify it, and then that kind of becomes the standard.
Lisa, let's go to our other guest here this morning. Jonathan Farrell's been traveling recently. John, forget about it. You're living it. What's it like on an airplane or getting on and off where you don't know if the guy next to you is vaccinated? Full disclosure, folks, Farrell is vaccinated.
Look, I think, personally, Tom, I think it's an absolute disgrace that we still haven't sorted out the travel corridor between London and New York. I think it's ridiculous. You mentioned the private solution. I'm sure the likes of American Airlines, United, Delta would love to sort something out like that from London to New York. The fact of the matter is, we're still shut down. It was really interesting to see the president go with his delegation and a bunch of journalists over to London, over to Cornwall the other week, wasn't it? And then go over to Geneva. And then we had the theatre of the mask and the elbow bumps in the UK, and then over to Geneva without a mask and the handshakes. I've got to say, Doctor, for a lot of people, it's incredibly frustrating. And I don't want to get too personal about the matter right now, but I do want your opinion on why on earth we haven't addressed this travel situation.
It's really mind-boggling. I think now with fully vaccinated individuals, they can go back to their pre-pandemic life. They should be able to travel freely without testing, without quarantine. That needs to be the standard. It's just that these countries are on different timescales, and a lot of them are reticent. Just look at Canada. They will not let Americans in that are fully vaccinated. It really makes no sense to me, and I think we have to start moving past this pandemic, this acute phase of the pandemic, because if you're why did you get fully vaccinated if you actually don't get the ability to kind of have your ability to move around the world back? So I think this is something we need to address, and I know they're working hard to figure this out, but it's going to take some time.
Back on the home front, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles clarifies that there's no policy authorizing the arrest of individuals who refuse to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Nograles tells One News that the administration is not laying the groundwork for harsh punishment, including arrest, to counter vaccine hesitancy. This despite the president's recent threat that the government will arrest those who refuse to receive vaccines. Nograles clarified Duterte only said this in a sense of exasperation, and he wants to protect the vulnerable population from COVID-19.
Perhaps it may not be something na i-consider natin in light of the fact na other countries are not doing that yet. But siguro, yung mga discussions about that are just academic in nature. Kumbaga, theoretically, can it be done? Theoretically, if Congress passes a law, then yes. Pero we're neither here nor there yet, di ba? Wala pa yung batas at wala pa namang policy.
Meanwhile, vaccine expert panel head Dr. Nina Gloriani urges Filipinos to complete their COVID-19 doses to assure protection against the Delta variant. On 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, Gloriani said all vaccine brands can provide protection against the more contagious variants, as well as severe forms of COVID-19. Health authorities earlier noted that some vaccine brands may have reduced efficacy against the Delta variant, but they can still offer some level of protection.
Ang nakikita natin dito sa lahat ng bakuna, they can protect against the severe form of COVID. So hindi maari magkaroon ka pa rin ng mild or moderate, pero dun sa severe mas mataas ang protection nilang lahat. Even against the variants.
Senate President Tito Sotto insists that the government should not mandate the wearing of both face masks and face shields, citing practices in other countries. Sotto pointed out that even the brief from the Health Department proves that most countries do not actually require both face masks and shields to be worn at the same time. Most nations only require the wearing of face masks, while others, such as China and South Korea, have only mandated the wearing of face shields after shifting from face masks. Sotto believes that the Philippines' face shield rule only causes unnecessary expense and discomfort to Filipinos. But on One News' The Big Story, a DOH expert reiterated that face shields provide additional protection against virus transmission.
But wearing face shields alone may not help, Robbie, because you can still inhale the virus because it's not completely sealed. So it's recommended that the mask plus face shield, the social distancing, and washing hands, all this all together can help, especially if one gets fully vaccinated.
The cities of Navotas and Caloocan have also opened their vaccination sites for walk-in clients. Vaccine authorities said this was because of the low turnout of vaccinees who pre-registered online. In Navotas, the Anghari Elementary School's vaccination site manager, Dr. Elenita Felipe, said they're also prioritizing workers, especially those who had to file leaves of absence to get vaccinated. In Caloocan, slots are open for both walk-in and online registrants, as over 270,000 people in Caloocan have received their first dose, while over 50,000 have been fully vaccinated.
Marami tayong mga workers, A4 category.
Yes po.
Hindi pa ba tayo,
Fisher folks.
Oo, hindi pa ba tayo come up katulad sa other cities na vacunized?
We're coming up ng Saturday, Sundays po.
In sports, Gilas Pilipinas is now preparing for the Olympic qualifying tournament scheduled next week. So what do these next few days look like for Gilas? Gretchen Ho has the report.
This is the Philippines versus Korea.
monumental sweep of their games in the final window of the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, Gilas Pilipinas is shifting their attention to the Olympic qualifying tournament in Serbia. While the team earned a much-needed rest day, they already have a friendly match lined up against Asian powerhouse China.
We were leaving on the 24th, going straight to Belgrade na sa Serbia na. We have a practice game with China on the 23rd. Konti pahinga lang, back to the grind.
As promised, Sotto will still join the team in the tournament. Together with Ange Kwame, Kai will anchor the paint for Gilas, but he will be needing more time with the team to be more dangerous.
Kai is smart, so alam niya yung mga mabilis matuto. Pero it's different when you play with instinct. Konti pa para maging instinctive na siya maglaro.
Gilas forward Carl Tamayo is also expected to recover from his ankle sprain. But all eyes have been on Phil-Am Dwight Ramos as he received plenty of praises from fans. Dwight, who averaged double figures in points during the past 3 games, likewise impressed Indonesian head coach Raiko Toroman, likening him to a European player. But for now, Dwight is not taking his talents anywhere else.
What's the big dream?
I just have to wait and see what happens. I don't know. For me, it's just to play professionally. I'm just focused on what I'm doing here, what's in front of me. For now, it's just the national team.
The current Gilas program is showing that long preparations plus an effective system can pay off. And as they continue their campaign in the OQT, the team is looking to improve their chemistry and individual game.
Ano pa yung kailangan i-improve ng team natin?
Offensive rebounds, being tough, and offensive rebounds. We want to focus on the process. Ang focus namin is getting these guys to be ready and become a solid team and to perform well.
The young guns of Gilas have their work cut out for them as they take on Serbia and the Dominican Republic. But like what they have shown in the recent games, these youngsters are capable of big things. Gretchen Hall, we are One News.
And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us later at 12 noon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.